Have you ever wondered what U.S. presidents do after they leave the White House? Their post-presidential lives are often as fascinating as their time in office. Let's dive into the post-presidential activities of former commanders-in-chief. Some former presidents take the time to pursue personal hobbies and interests. For many, retirement is a time to slow down and take it easy. But not for former President George H.W. Bush, for whom retirement just seemed to enhance his sense of adventure. George H.W. Bush enjoyed skydiving, marking every 5th birthday with an adrenaline-fueled skydive, even celebrating his 90th birthday with a jump. The first time Bush jumped from a plane, according to the Bush Presidential Library, was in 1944 while serving in the U.S. Navy. His fighter plane was gunned down and he parachuted into the Pacific Ocean. Bush was rescued by a U.S. submarine, but his 2 crewmates didn't make it. Bush reportedly pledged to himself while in the military that he would one day jump out of a plane for fun. After leaving the White House, he fulfilled the wish for the first time in 1997, parachuting from a plane as part of an Army demonstration. Jimmy Carter, known for his woodworking skills, builds furniture and crafts. Jimmy Carter knows his way around a lathe and a saw. His favorite way of spending time is working with wood. Carter began sawing and hammering as a young naval officer when he built furniture for his family. Following his electoral defeat in 1980, his staff bought him a collection of planes, chisels, lathes, and other tools. He's been using them in his garage workshop in Plains, Georgia, ever since. "It's like taking a vacation," he says. Today, he sells much of his work at auction to benefit the Carter Center. One of his bookcases sold for $200,000 in 2000. Want to take a deep dive into American history? During his second term, President Franklin Roosevelt had an archive for the personal papers and mementos he'd accumulated during his time in office. Since a president can't accept personal gifts during office, any tokens presented by foreign heads of state and other dignitaries and citizens belong to the American people. To continue this chain of custody, Roosevelt established his presidential library in 1941. This tradition was carried on by Harry Truman, under whose administration Congress passed the Presidential Libraries Act. Every U.S. president since Herbert Hoover and a few before has a library dedicated to his life and time in office. These presidential libraries are archives with massive amounts of documents, letters, photographs, diary entries, videos, and emails that provide a treasure trove for historians and anyone else interested in U.S. history. The most visited of the presidential libraries operated by the National Archives is the Ronald Reagan Library, which covers all phases of Reagan's action-packed life, from movie star to California governor to popular president 1981 to 1989, dubbed the Great Communicator. The center displays a full-size replica of the White House Oval Office, where President Reagan famously never took off his suit jacket. It also features the first-of-its-kind hologram of a president. John F. Kennedy also has a popular presidential library due to the sense of mystery around his life and death. One of the most common activities for former presidents is writing. Many presidents pen memoirs detailing their time in office and their views on various issues. For example, Barack Obama's A Promised Land and George W. Bush's Decision Points became bestsellers. A book that deserves mentioning even though being prior to their tenancy as president, The Art of the Deal by Donald J. Trump, outlining the secrets to successful business. These books provide personal insights and historical records, allowing the public to gain a deeper understanding of their presidencies. For most of U.S. history, presidents have been given a pat on the back on their way out, and that's about it. That changed in 1958 when Congress passed the Former Presidents Act. This law gave a departing president an annual pension of $25,000 a year under the original bill. Since then, the amount has been increased to the same as a cabinet member, about $161,000 per year. The government also provides a former president funding to support an office and staff for 4.5 years. Not all presidents leave public life after the White House. President William Taft went on to become the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, appointed by President Warren Harding 8 years after Taft left office. Taft preferred the judicial over the executive branch. "I don't remember that I ever was president," he once wrote. Other presidents have been appointed or elected to various positions. After being impeached, Andrew Johnson was elected as a senator for Tennessee, while John Tyler served in the Confederate House of Representatives more than a decade after leaving the White House. Jimmy Carter has been involved in numerous diplomatic missions and election monitoring. The nation's first president, George Washington, set the bar high for all presidents who would follow. Washington had a particular affinity for helping the poor. When he left his farm to command the Continental Army, he instructed his staff, "Let no one go hungry away." If any of these kind of people should be in want of corn, supply their necessities, provided it does not encourage them in idleness. After the war, Washington financially supported orphanages in several states. He also prioritized higher education in his later years, donating $20,000 in property, the equivalent of $20 million today, to the Alexandria Academy to underwrite tuition for students. Today, that academy is known as Washington and Lee University. George H.W. Bush once described America's web of community and civic organizations as a brilliant diversity spread like stars, like 1,000 points of light in a broad and peaceful sky. Today, Points of Light has become the world's largest volunteer organization. The Institute provides products and services to nonprofits to help make volunteerism more accessible, inclusive, and effective, conducts research to encourage evidence-based actions, and hosts gatherings. They helped raise hundreds of millions of dollars for charity with a specific focus on health. President and Mrs. Bush, who lost their daughter to leukemia, supported cancer treatment programs at the Texas Medical Center and the MD Anderson Cancer Center. In addition to this, they rang bells and raised money for the Salvation Army and also supported literacy programs. Jimmy Carter, well into his 90s, building homes for the nonprofit organization Habitat for Humanity. The former president and his wife, Rosalind, have been the organization's most high-profile supporters for almost 30 years. During that time, the Carters have worked alongside 103,000 volunteers in 14 countries to build, renovate, and repair 4,331 homes, according to Habitat. In addition to building homes, Carter remains busy building strong communities around the world through his Carter Center, an organization he founded with Mrs. Carter in 1982. The Carter Center monitors elections, brokers peace, and eases suffering in some of the poorest countries in the world, with a primary focus of eradicating tropical diseases. President Barack Obama and his wife, Michelle, donated over $1 million to charity during their time in the White House. Much of this giving was focused on helping children and included donations to the Boys and Girls Clubs of America and the Midtown Educational Foundation, a nonprofit that provides pathways to opportunity for low-income urban youth in the Obamas' hometown, Chicago. Today, the Obamas continue their legacy of giving through the Obama Foundation, which focuses on education, civics, and leadership. On November 14, 1986, President Reagan issued a declaration naming November 15 National Philanthropy Day. Despite this public proclamation, Reagan kept much of his personal philanthropy private, preferring to help people, not organizations. Aides recall the president would send monetary contributions in response to letters from people who were suffering. For example, Reagan once wrote a personal check to a young boy awaiting a liver transplant, a donation that eventually made the newspaper. Today, the Ronald Reagan Foundation and Library, a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to the preservation and promotion of the legacy of Ronald Reagan and his timeless principles, has provided more than $8.5 million in scholarships to student leaders seeking a higher education, along with a number of other educational programs that teach the values of liberty, opportunity, and personal responsibility. Public speaking is another common path. Former presidents often give speeches around the world, sharing their experiences and advocating for causes they believe in. They can command substantial speaking fees, adding to their post-presidential income. These appearances allow them to stay relevant in public discourse and support various initiatives. America's former presidents are raking in tens of millions of dollars just by making speeches, according to tax records and published reports. They speak at corporate conventions, charity fundraisers, and business conferences. You don't have to be a former president to rake in speaking fees, though. Even failed presidential candidates such as Jeb Bush, Hillary Clinton, and Ben Carson get paid tens of thousands of dollars, and in Clinton's case a couple $100,000 per speech, according to published reports. Former President Bill Clinton has made the most of any modern president on the speaking circuit. He gives dozens of speeches a year, and each brings in between $250,000 and $500,000 per engagement, according to published reports. He also earned $750,000 for a single speech in Hong Kong in 2011. In the decade or so after Clinton left office, from 2001 through 2012, he made at least $104 million in speaking fees, according to an analysis by the Washington Post. And there you have it, a look at what presidents do after their presidency. From writing and philanthropy to public speaking and personal hobbies, their lives continue to be impactful and fascinating. What post-presidential activity surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more deep dives into history and politics. Thanks for watching, and see you next time on Memento Solis.